we at 30? No, we don't. I'm not. So, hey, y'all, hey. This is Senator Angela Williams Graves representing the 21st Senate District, where we do good work on your behalf. And we are here. Marcus, what's your last name?
Elam.
Elam. All right. We're here with Marcus Elam from the Department of Corrections. You all have probably seen his face if you have been watching you've probably been in Course of Justice, maybe with some Department of Corrections issues. You've definitely been in my committee, which is rehab and social services on DOC issues. And a couple of weeks ago, a session of the district download was regarding my Senate Bill 276. And we had some technical difficulties. Technology is great when it works, not so much when it doesn't. And so it didn't work. So we're back just kind of with an impromptu conversation to go over that part, because the Department of Corrections is doing so many great things on their own. And as I said a couple of weeks ago, leadership matters. And we are seeing that it's proof positive that since the new administration has taken over, and since Governor Spanberger has been inaugurated and sworn into office, we have seen so many good things that have happened and that have come out of the Department of Corrections without legislation, without poking and prodding, without any kind of forcing folks and twisting their arms. They're like, hey, how can we help? This is a great idea. How can we make it better? While y'all are figuring out the legislative part, we can do some things practically to make it work. And so I'm going to run through the bill really quickly, because bills start out one way and they end up some other way. But the goal that I want everybody to have here is that we are moving forward, and we're moving forward in a very good way with regard to visitation. So Senate Bill 276, as it was introduced, required the Virginia Department of Corrections to take a closer look at how visitation works for incarcerated people. The bill directs the department to study and report its visitation policies, including how often visits happen and what barriers may prevent families from visiting their loved ones. Why does this matter? It matters because in-person visitation is important, because it helps incarcerated individuals to stay connected with their families and communities, to maintain mental and emotional health, and to prepare for successful reentry when they return home. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's more than 90% of folks who are incarcerated come home.
Give or take, that's correct.
Okay, so it's not like we just locking up folks and throwing away the key and we're never going to see them again. Folks are going to come home, and if they can maintain relationships with their family members and with community members, it makes it much easier in that transition when they do come home. And so research has shown that people who maintain family connections while being incarcerated are less likely to reoffend after release. So, in-person visitation reduces recidivism. It improves family contact and the behavior inside the facility, because visitation is a privilege. And so folks want to see their loved ones. And so they're on their best behavior, as my mama would say, all of the time, right? And so that's really good. And then the third thing, in-person visitation supports children and families. More than 5 million children in the United States have had a parent incarcerated. That is a lot of kids with family members, with a parent behind bars. And then children who are able to visit their incarcerated parent in person show better emotional health, school engagement, and family stability compared to those who only have a phone or video contact. And we want to, I guess, stress too, this doesn't take away video.
Not at all.
But with the opportunity to provide in person, that is the preference. And then finally, strong family ties improve reentry outcomes. So from this one little bill being presented, tell us what the DOC did all on their own with the blessing of the governor to get this ball rolling.
Well, I want to first thank you, Senator Williams Graves, for having me on the show and giving the Department of Corrections an opportunity just to really talk about, one, where we are as an agency, where we're going as an agency, and then particularly about this bill. So we really appreciate that, first and foremost. And really, I really wanted to point out first, we've got new leadership. You mentioned leadership is key, and it is. We've got brand new leadership at the department. Director Joseph Walters was appointed by Governor Spanberger. We have a new chief deputy who was appointed by Governor Spanberger, Jerry Fitz. And I'll tell you, I've been in the department for 32 years, and I've seen change. The biggest change so far with leadership with Director Walters has been the approach that we're going to take with advocates, with family members, and with members of the General Assembly. And my job, I've got a great team that comes down here that works with me, Rose Durbin and Eric Barton. It's been such a huge relief coming down and being able to sit down with you all and do something like this, or talk with families and talk with advocates and really get from them how what we're doing or not doing impacts them, particularly with something like visitation. So in the conversations I've had with you and other members, going back and give that feedback to Mr. Walters, who said, we are going to do differently. We're going to be here for families. We're going to be here for the Commonwealth, citizens of the Commonwealth. What he said to me was, what can we do now?
Right.
Why are we waiting for legislation to go through the process
and doesn't take effect until July 1?
Or wait for a work group. Now, work groups are important, and we want to do that because we do want to hear from families and advocates. But there are things that we could do now that we really should have done before now, and we're acknowledging that. So right after you and I initially had the first conversation with your bill, I went back and talked to Director Walters, and he asked me that question. And we said, well, you know what? We don't need to wait to expand visitation for visitors who are already getting 2 hours and there's empty chairs or empty tables. So he said, he put together a memo and immediately changed that. The other thing he said he wanted to do is expand the opportunity for visits. Unfortunately, during COVID, that put some restrictions on everybody, not just corrections. But what we didn't do as an agency, we didn't adjust after COVID.
Right. We didn't get back to the pre-COVID visitation numbers.
We didn't. And we didn't even try. Now, we had a new process in because I do think we also had complaints prior to COVID that our visitation process was antiquated. There was no automation. People showed up. Some folks didn't even get visit because of the volume. So we did need to get better in terms of automation, but we didn't adjust after COVID, just with the sure numbers of allowing people to be in the visitation room. And what Joe Walters said, we need to expand that now. Why are we waiting? So in that memo, he also advised all of our facilities that you're going to pay attention to what the size of your visitation room, and he wants numbers in terms of how we can expand that, and we've already started putting that in place.
I think it makes a difference when you want to do something.
Absolutely.
When there's a saying that says, where there's a will, there's a way. And so I think this is showing the will, and then the way. It's faith in action. Also, it's wanting to do it. It's wanting to create that, but also doing something and looking at the practical ramifications of those actions and how it will benefit inmates. Because here's the thing, a lot of people see inmates as those people. They do. And they just feel like they are criminals, they're bad people, they're bad humans, and there probably some bad people there. But even those bad people, they're human beings. They're somebody's son or daughter or grandson or husband or father or mother. They're still human beings, and they're still citizens of the Commonwealth.
Absolutely. And again, the other thing I appreciate with Director Walters is that obviously he understands that. And what we understand and what we're basically are trying to do is remind folks, even internally, especially internally, there are folks that are going home tomorrow. And there are folks that are never going home. Doesn't mean they should not have a quality of life.
Right.
So everything we do should be encouraging people to get the things they need, to have quality education, visits with families, conversations, all those things go into making sure that whether you're getting out tomorrow or never getting out, that you've got a quality of life. And I tell you, again, I've been around a long time, and the changes that we're talking about and we're already starting to implement, I feel like I can work another 30 years, because we are doing a better job. And you and I had this conversation. Don't trust me just because I say it.
Right.
Give us an opportunity to show you that we're going to do differently. And I'm encouraging, the families and advocates to call us. Director Walters has already got a team together that's meeting with advocates, because the other thing we didn't do well is we didn't take time to hear people. So now we're already meeting with advocates just to sit and listen, get the impact that what we've done as an agency to and how we've operated, how that's impacted them. So I'm very happy about that. And
so you're listening and not defending.
We're listening and not defending.
Right.
That's exactly right. And that's made a big difference coming down here. And and me and my team being able to stand up and talk about what we're doing as an agency. We've not had to prepare talking points. We've not had to sit down and do a conference so we can anticipate what the members are going to ask, so we can be prepared for that. It's been a huge relief for our team. And I think we've all said this is the best session I know I've had. And it's really because we're working together as a team, and we're doing some acknowledgement. We're understanding where we went wrong. And we're trying to do better. And sometimes we need legislation to help us, but we shouldn't need legislation to make us want to do better.
Right. And policy does not always mean legislation.
That's
to
right.
your point, there are some things that require legislation. It has to be in the code for us to be able to do it. But then policy oftentimes is really perspective.
It is.
And it's the perspective of leadership to say either we're going to do this or we're not going to do this. So quickly tell us, since we started this conversation, some of the things that have happened in terms of the visits and the families that have been able to reconnect. Because some of these folks haven't seen people since COVID, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah, that's a long time.
And the first weekend that we expanded visitation to meaning that if someone family showed up to visit and there were empty tables and they were going to get an extra 2 hours, we had roughly 90 visitors across the state get extra visits. That's huge when we weren't even offering visits at all.
Right. We went from no visits to extra.
Right.
I like it.
Now, again, we can still do better. We're not pinning our hopes and dreams on the fact that we improved in a weekend. Because what I also heard, being transparent, there were some visitors that didn't get, some facilities that may have not gotten that memo.
Okay.
And, so they didn't extend it the way they should. So, but we've already taken steps to make sure that we correct that. So again, we're not going to be perfect, and we don't, that's not an excuse. But I think for the weekend, the very first weekend, and getting the memo 2 or 3 days prior, I think that was really good, and it showed where Director Walters and Mr. Fitz, where their head is, and that they're committed to this process. And the rest of the leadership team, I don't want to exclude them, because we've got a good leadership team going right now. They're all committed to making sure that we change our image, that we're open, that we're listening, that we work with the members of the General Assembly, because we also understand there is oversight, and that's Civics 101. So we're going to be, really good partners moving forward. I'm happy about that.
And not just change the image, as you said, because of lip service, but change the image because of action. Actions, as my mother would say, speak louder than words.
Absolutely.
And so, or I like to say they reinforce.
Absolutely.
One way or the other. It either tells me that you meant what you said or you didn't. Okay. So that's where we are. So I want to take an opportunity too, because I think what we're also seeing as some other bills, we were just in rehab this morning.
That's right.
And as some other bills came forward, we're seeing some bills that are going to give some continuity and consistency in the facilities. This dress code piece.
Absolutely.
I wish I had that bill. This dress code piece, that's super important. Like, people know what it is.
Yes.
And it ain't what it ain't.
Yeah.
And so you can come, here's the requirement, right? And it's not a guessing game. nor is it an opportunity for somebody, so you're not going to say it, but I'm going to say it, for them to arbitrarily punish somebody and not let their loved one in because they can use these things against those who are behind bars. And so we know that just like we have good people working everywhere, we also have some people who in corrections whose mindsets and cultures we need to change, or they maybe need to move on. But that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, that piece of the culture changing. And I think it also goes back to something that Senator Mamie Locke said that I will never forget. Jail is the punishment.
That's right.
Jail is the punishment. Why we keep punishing people while they're in jail when jail was the punishment, right? And so that when she said that, I was like, wow, that's true, and so sometimes people use things arbitrarily to keep punishing folks, when the inmate's already there.
And let me say this, and I testified to this this morning. We've got great staff. We've got great leadership throughout the agency, but we do need to get better. And I mentioned that this morning. And sometimes, as you mentioned, we've got some folks to do things they shouldn't. And when we find that out, and we need to address it and hold those folks accountable. Sometimes what we don't do as good a job as we are, because we are a very large agency. We've got 43 prisons, that we don't really ensure that memos and expectations get down to the lowest level.
Right.
And you can't repeat that enough. You can't reinforce that enough. And something like visitation, where on a Saturday or Sunday you could have somebody this week, but then have somebody different next week, lends itself the opportunity for different interpretations. But that's not fair to the family. That's not fair to the visitor to come in. That's our responsibility to make sure that I routinely and consistently reinforce procedure, reinforce practices, reinforce understanding, particularly something that's going to affect a lot of people that don't work with us every day.
That part right there.
Right.
That part right there. You have average working class people of various education levels, and they don't always understand the policies and procedures as they may be. And so the consistency piece is, now I'm going to give you an idea. I literally just thought of this, and it might take a budget amendment. But when I worked retail, when retail was a thing, we had what was called secret shoppers. And the secret shoppers would come into the stores. We would not know who they were. And they made sure we greeted within 5 seconds of them crossing the lease line. And if we added extra stuff and all those things. I think there should be secret family visitors.
Like Undercover Boss, that
yes,
TV show.
I love that one. I love that one. And sending people out to various facilities to see various inmates just to see what the memo says, what the corrections officers, the wardens and all the people, I don't know all the people, but all the people, if all of that is truly getting pushed down, that's a way for you to be able to say, it's working, or these are the institutions that we need to kind of tighten up on, or maybe come back and provide them a corrective action plan on how they can do better. And that it might require a budget amendment, but you might even get some volunteers.
I heard you say you're going to give us money, so we'll always take money.
Marcus, thank you so much for taking the time to redo this for us so that we could make sure that individuals in my district and across the Commonwealth are aware of what's going on, know that we are making good faith efforts. We are talking and we're walking and chewing gum at the same time with regard to treating our inmates as human beings, seeing them as human beings, and even more so their families, having their families connect with them and say, because you think about somebody who hasn't had connection with their family in 5 or 6 years, except for maybe a phone call or something, that's really hard. And then you said somebody's getting out tomorrow. That is really hard to just reconnect. It's not like you can just turn things on and off emotionally and psychologically. And so it's really hard to do that. So I'm really I'm really pleased, really excited, and I appreciate the time that you took to come back.
Yeah. Well, I do want to
this.
point out, and I again want to thank you for inviting us. This is new for us as an agency.
Mhm.
You're wanting to have corrections sit with you and having a conversation like this says a lot, and I really appreciate that. And I think I told you last time when your bill came up and we had a conversation, we didn't talk about it for about a week, and then you came in Senate Finance, and
y'all had made all kinds of changes in that week. They did,
and you gave me a hug.
I did.
Said I went back and told Director Paul, I said, listen, I've been in there 3 years. First time I got a hug from a member. So that's progress.
And
that's
you got
foundation.
several since then, right?
I have.
You
give me every time I see it. But I make fun of that because it just shows where the relationship is going.
Yes.
And I know you are passionate about your district and your constituents, but you're also willing to sit down and be reasonable and have conversations. And I know you visited prisons with me, and you've always been very attentive to the needs of folks, and you don't forget our folks. You haven't forgotten that our folks have a hard job. You've made a great comment today on the record in support of corrections and our staff, and I truly appreciate that too.
Absolutely. It's a balance.
It is.
It's a balance.
So thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here. I appreciate
Absolutely.
you. All right, Lassa. All right, y'all. We are out. I'm headed to caucus and to session. It's Friday. I don't know what's going to happen, but whatever it is, I'm all here for it. Bye.